Hey everybody, and welcome back to Magium. It's been a little bit since I did one of these, but I am doing one now, and I had a little bit of an issue. My save game got erased, or I think I'm using a different browser, so I couldn't really find out where I had it to begin with. So I had to start a new one, and then skip the whole way through and try and remember which skill points I put into what. So I think it's pretty well the same. It's close. So I didn't go into something like strength or anything like that. So I pretty well went along the same lines. So this is the beginning of chapter 6. And from what I read, I actually went and watched the last video to make sure that I was on the right chapter. Anyway, this is chapter 6. So we are going to continue this now. I just clicked it before I started the video. Alright. Alright, I think that's a wrap, says Darren once we finish our strategy meeting. We're currently all sitting in a circle in front of our cave's entrance. The sun is pretty high up in the sky, and there's not a cloud in sight. Luckily, Kate has graciously agreed to use her ice magic to cool the air around us a bit. This way we can enjoy the weather without feeling as if we're inside of an oven. Noon is almost upon us, Darren continues. We should get going as soon as possible. We can't afford to keep traveling once the sun sets. We have a long road ahead of us. Rose, did you get all the herbs you were looking for? Oh no, I just remembered. I dropped my bag of herbs when I was being chased by the goblins. Don't worry, I doubt anyone would have stolen it, so it must be still where you left it. I'll help you look for it. Come with me. I get up to follow them, but Kate grabs my sleeve. Wait, she says. There's something that has been bothering me since this morning. She looks really tense. It seems like she's struggling to get the words out of her mouth. Were you... She pauses. Were you really smitten by me since you first saw me? Of all the things I would have expected her to say to me right now, this was the last of them. Thanks a lot, Darren. What am I supposed to tell her now? Well, of course not. No, yes, maybe a little. Ooh, I like that. Maybe a little, I tell her. You were? I thought he was just joking. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hurt your feelings, but I'm not interested right now. I said only a little. What's gotten into you all of a sudden? This isn't like you. Kate looks away, takes a deep breath, and exhales before she continues. When those three mages attacked us earlier, it made me realize something. You and Rose are the only persons I've ever met that do not treat me like some kind of monster. Even if people don't always say it openly like those three mages did, there's something in their eyes that gives them away. Something that makes it clear that they do not see me as human. It's the same with Darren. Despite what you've said, I don't think he truly believes that I'm not a banshee. I think it's only a matter of time before I'll have to fight him, just like I've had to fight everyone else. I guess she's starting to see through my lie already. I was hoping I could convince her not to lose her trust in Darren, but it seems like she never really had much trust in him to begin with. Kate shifts her gaze back to me. But you and Rose you're different. When I talk to you, I see neither fear nor apprehension in your eyes. You speak to me as normally as you would speak with any other person. I don't know if why that is. I don't know what's wrong with you, but thank you for making me feel a part of the group for the first time in my life. Hey, there you are. Darren shouts from a distance as he and Rose comes back from the forest. We found Rose's bag not far from here. It's still got all our herbs inside. We should be good to go. When he gets closer, he looks at me and Kate and says, I'm sorry, did we interrupt something? Yeah, keep me, your bird professor, love for me. Yeah, I like that one. Yeah. Yeah, Kate was just about to profess her love for me. Kate makes a long sort of ice materialize in her hand as she pauses. It pressed its tip lightly against my throat. Say that again? I dare you. See, now you're acting more like yourself. All jokes aside, I think Darren has a point. The sooner we leave here, the better. Let's get going. Kate takes her sword out of my face and makes it vanish, while me and Darren head for the cave to make sure we're not forgetting anything. Before leaving, I make sure to take with me my spoils of war from this morning's skirmishes. A crossbow from one of the crossbowmen who ambushed us, a dagger from one of Cutthroat Dave's men, and the treasure I took from the Duke of Baggleberry. We joined back with Rose, and we set off on a long road ahead. Shortly after we begin our trip, Darren notices that I've strapped my crossbow to the back of my backpack. Barry, why aren't you just putting that crossbow inside the backpack, like you did with everything else? Well, because it's already full with my other stuff. Full? Wait a minute. Barry, you're telling me that the backpack you're carrying with you right now is actually a completely regular one? Well, yeah, enchanted backpacks are really hard to come by if you're not a mage. You realize you've asked me to enchant it for you, right? You could have asked me to enchant it for you. It literally only takes a few minutes. Here, give me that. Darren grabs my backpack and enters an enchanting trance. His eyes become yellow and the backpack starts to glow. The fact that Darren specializes on item enchanting had completely slipped my mind. Enchanted backpacks are leagues better than normal ones. They have almost infinite space and people can't see what's inside them, so they can only steal your stuff if they know exactly what they're looking for. Taking an item out of an enchanted backpack is as simple as focusing on its image and reaching inside for it. Rose is looking very interested in the enchanting process. She is now studying Darren closely. Hey Barry, Darren says, do you want me to have your backpack extra secure, or should I just leave it like this? If I secure it, then you will be the only then only you will be able to take the items out of it. The only downside is that you can't really authorize other persons to take items from your backpack once you secure it. Normally, security shouldn't be much of a problem with these backpacks because someone has to actually know what you have inside before taking an item, but it never hurts to be safe. I'm probably not going to secure it because I'm going to be in a group and it shouldn't really matter. And I don't even carry that little item on me anyway. I think it's actually, yeah, it's actually on my person, I think, in my pocket or something. So it's not in the backpack. So there's nothing really of value. So I'm not going to secure it. No, leave it like that. It's secure enough as it is. As you wish. Once he's done enchanting my backpack, he hands it back to me and then turns to Rose. I can see you're very interested in my craft. Would you perhaps like to have one of your backpack enchanted as well? Rose blushes, realizing she's been a bit too obvious in her curiosity. I would be honored, she answers. Once he's done with her backpack too, we continue on our way. We spend the next few hours traveling south, taking the most direct route available to Rose's town. Her usual route was designed to avoid most areas that are known to be frequented by monsters, but Darren insisted on delivering the cure to the sick as soon as possible, and said that our group should be more than able to handle a few monster attacks. The scenery that we've seen during our travel has been rather underwhelming. Maybe my expectations were too high, but I always thought that the fabled continent of Varathia would be filled with all sorts of natural wonders and mythical creatures. All I've seen today was your everyday pine and oak forest, with a lake or a river here, and there to be kept from completely monotonous. Monotonous? I don't know. It's a single thing. At least it's been a few hours since the last time we've been attacked, which is quite an achievement, judging by how this tournament has been going so far. Kate has opened up a bit since her last discussion with me. When we first met yesterday, she looked very tense, and it seemed as though she was expecting to try and kill her the moment she turned her back on us. Now she seems calmer, and she allows herself to smile a little bit more often, even if only for faintly, especially when she's talking with Rose. We've been keeping a steady pace so far, and there's been no breaks except for the occasional stopping to get some fruits from the trees, or to fill our gourds with water from a river. During one of these small breaks, Rose approaches me in private to ask me about the discussion I had with Kate this morning. Barry, I've been meaning to ask, did we actually interrupt an important discussion between you and Kate this morning? Kate's been acting evasive every time I brought up the subject. I'd feel terrible if you two lost a chance to confess your feelings for each other because me and Darren couldn't read the mood. Don't worry about what our discussion was about. Actually, I prefer women with larger breasts like yourself. I'm still available if that's what you're asking. You got it all wrong. My feelings are only for you. Don't worry. We got to say all we need to say before you interrupt it. Actually, you're the one just... Ooh, okay. Yeah, I'll go with that one. Actually, you're the one who stunned me with your breeder when I first saw you. Change the subject. Oh, thank you for the compliment, but I thought, there's nothing going on between me and Kate. In fact, the purpose of our discussion this morning was to clear things up between us because of Darren's joke that I was smitten with her. I see. I guess I misunderstood the situation then. Listen, about what you said earlier, there's no need to say anything. I wasn't making a pass at you. I was just being sincere. I barely even know you besides the fact that you seem really nice and kind. I think we should continue this conversation after we know each other a little bit better. Rose smiles. Yeah, we should do that. She pauses. I think we should go help the others with picking fruits. We need all the food we can get for the long journey ahead of us. Continue. Me and Rose join the others, and once we're all done gathering provisions, we depart once more. As we travel, we start talking about various things. Darren's adventures, our lives before joining the tournament, and the reasons we all came here. During our conversations, Darren was, of course, the one that's been speaking the most. Go figure. While Kate has been as evasive as always about her past and her reasons for being here. Hearing our stories, Rose decides to join in on our discussion by telling us a bit about herself. I've always liked plants, she tells us. Plants and books. So it's no surprise that I spend most of my youth with my nose buried in herbology manuals. As time passed, I started to learn more about herbal medicine, and I realized my talents could be used to help people in need. Most people I help don't really have much money to repay me, but the little they give me is enough for me to make a living, and their sincere feelings of gratitude are much more rewarding me than money that I get by only working for rich folk. I've been living a modest life along with my brother and sister, who are 9 and 8 years old respectively, ever since my father died last year. I've been occasionally getting some financial support from my ex-husband. You were married, Darren asked. Yes, for a few years, but it didn't really work out in the end. We both moved on with our lives. Since then, we've had no children together. So there's no hard feelings. Ever since my father died, I've been taking care of my siblings all by myself. So my main focus for the past year has been my work and my family. But what about your mother, says Kate. She died long ago, when she gave birth to my little sister. Oh, I'm sorry. Rose smiles. There's no need. You couldn't have known. How did you all handle the death of your grand priest? Darren asked, trying to change the subject. You said that he was the last person alive that could create food out of nothing in your city. So I imagine there must have been some backup plan in case of his inevitable death. Oh yes, many people have started to learn agriculture, but the problem is that most of the fertile terrain around our land is already owned by the nobles. By planting your seeds further away from the town, you run the risk of getting your crops raided by monsters. Like goblins. Are monster raids frequent in your area? Why aren't people rebelling against the nobles? Well, monster raids are frequent because they have a greater chance of being raided. That's what you just said. And people wouldn't be worried about it if they weren't frequent at all. So, why aren't the people rebelling against the nobles? Some of them are, but the nobles are backed up by royalty, so most people don't dare openly oppose them. In our town, the rebels are almost inexistent. Yeah. But I hear that in some cities with a similar situation to ours, there are full-blown civil wars going on. What about the gods, Darren asked? Are they not getting involved in any of this? The only gods that are currently involved are the god of fate and the god of death, but I am very much doubt any of them have the best interests at heart. It is said that the two of them started working together recently, and that might well be true, judging by the high level of cooperation between their followers lately. Wait, isn't the god of fate just a fancy title for the god of illusions, Darren says? Yes, Rose answers. Most gods name themselves after the power their followers gain by worshipping them. Some of them, however, choose other names for themselves, which can be a bit confusing. It's the same for the god of death. Judging by his name, you would think that he reigns over the underworld, but in fact he's just the god of necromancy, bringing back the dead to life to serve his bidding. Continue. As Rose talks, I hear 3 loud beeps come from my pocket. Yes! I was hoping for more. I pull out the stat device, and I'm surprised to see that the maximum numbers of my stats have been increased to 4. Ew! What's that, Rose asks. It's a toy, Darren says before I get a chance to reply. You know those magical devices that simulate a pet? In order to teach little kids about responsibilities. Those beats you heard were Barry's pet getting hungry. Oh, I love those toys. Ever since I got one for my little sister, I just couldn't keep her apart from it. Ignore Darren, Kate says. He was just being a... What Barry has there is a stat booster. He's using it to harness magical energy from the air, which he can use to augment his physical abilities. Rose looks impressed. Wow! I didn't know such a thing was possible. So that device is basically turning you into a mage. I never thought of it that way. It's true that there are some mages who actually use their magic to augment their powers. In a similar way, the device does. Does that make me one of them? I suppose, I answer. But it's only temporary. The device will run out of energy once I am no longer surrounded by all these powerful mages to extract it from. I take a look at my stat booster and start to think what I should spend my newly acquired points on. Invest points now. Alright. I have 3, I think. 4. I have 4. Alright. I really don't know. Let's go to speed. Yeah, speed, observation, and hearing. That maxes out 2. Reflexes, I really don't know what per se. But that max out 2. And then I'll max out hearing next. And maybe either reflexes or premonition. So I can actually see stuff coming. Confirm changes. As Rose talks, I hear 3 loud beats. La 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 la. Yep, done that. As I finish using my stat device, Rose asks me another question. Wait, so if your stat booster extracts magical energy from other mages, does that mean it also eating away at Darren and Kate's powers? It's getting a bit of energy from every mage in a 30-mile radius, but the amount it takes from each of them is barely enough to mildly inconvenience them. Most of the energy is from the powerful spells that have been cast all around us since the beginning of this tournament. And that energy would have just dissipated into thin air anyway, so you could just say I'm recycling it rather than stealing it. I think that I get interrupted by a very loud roar that echoes all around us. What was that? Rose asked, visibly scared. A second, louder roar now booms through the air, as I can feel my hair standing up on the back of my neck. I've never heard this sound before in my life. I have no idea what beast might be causing it. So then, what is this feeling of dread that I'm getting all of a sudden? Why do I find myself wanting to run as fast as I can, in any direction, as long as it gets me as far away from this place as possible? Shortly after the second roar ended, a powerful wind started to blow towards us. I can almost feel it trying to lift me in the air. The trees are barely holding up, and it looks as if they're getting pulled out of their roots at any moment. We're lucky this is happening while we're in a clearing, because otherwise we would have to also protect ourselves from falling trees, while trying to hold our ground against the relentless force of the wind. As some of the trees start to fall, a monstrous figure makes its appearance high above us. It's at least 50 foot tall, with very tough-looking red scales covering its entire body, and wings the size of sails on a longship. Its claws look as sharp as blades, and its fangs are bared at us menacingly. But its overall appearance is not much different from that from an overgrown lizard. A dragon! They really exist. Is this all happening because of my disappointment for not including everyone else is frozen too? Darren, Kate, Rose are all standing completely still, and I can't even feel the wind anymore. Seriously now. I hear a familiar voice behind me. How could I let him win after saying a line like that? I quickly turn around and see Eden stand behind me, with his eyes closed as usual and a smile on his face. I mean, I don't think that I've ever read a children's book where the main villain gloats to such an extent. It's embarrassing, really. Where have you been hiding all this time? What did you do? Why did you save us? Yeah, play his game. Where have you been hiding all this time? Now, Barry, is that any way to talk to your savior? To answer your question, I've been following the dragon for a while now. I've been masking my presence so that he couldn't find me by using his sight, smell, or hearing, or magical sense. I've been watching your battle since it began, and I must say, I'm not very impressed. Are you kidding? What do you expect me to do against the dragon? How about using that device you're holding in your hand? Yeah, and what would that do to save me? And what would you have me do? Max my strength and punch him to death? Excuse me, sir. Me and Eden both turned around at the same time to see that Rose was standing up and looking at Eden confused. Hi, my name is Rose. Are you a friend of Barry? Eden furrows his brows and makes a hand gesture towards Rose. What are you doing? Rose asks him. Interesting, Eden says. Rose, I've cast a spell that's supposed to freeze time for everyone except me and Barry. Have you by any chance studied time magic in your lifetime? No, I can't cast any magic at all. I'm not a mage. Eden smiles, widens. Then I offer you my sincerest congratulations. As of this moment, you are officially a time weaver. A what? Eden turns to me. Barry, I must admit, I don't think I've ever seen such a diversity in a team before. A time weaver, a healer in armor, a survivor from the Beacon of Hope, and a stat device wielder. I think I'm starting to root for you. Good, maybe you can finish off the dragon for us. What is a time weaver? What's so special? Well, a time weaver is pretty obvious. Stat device wielder. It's more special than you think. You're one of the rare cases that can utilize this device to its full potential. Not many can boast such a feat. Allow me to demonstrate. Eden snaps his fingers and my stat device flies out of my hand to his. The stat device thing suddenly glowing, and it looks like it's accumulating a massive amount of energy in a very short time. Hey! I realize this must all be confusing for you, Barry. So I'm going to provide you with a little bit of a context. The beast just attacked you is Tyrath, the self-proclaimed king of all dragons. The reason he's looking for me is because I wrote a message in the stars last night in an ancient language used primarily by dragon hunters. The message purpose was to let all dragon hunters who entered this contest know that a dragon exists on this island, and to give them a little extra incentive to hunt him down. I very much doubt that any of them will pose a realistic threat to him, but it'll be fun to watch. He finishes charging out my stat device and hands it back to me. As I hold it in my hand, I can feel a powerful surge of magical energy run through me and flow through all of my body. I believe your ultimate goal was to win this tournament and become a mage, was it not? Well, Barry, I am now giving you a taste of that power. For about 5 minutes, you'll have magical powers comparable to mine. More than enough to drive off the dragon. I'd wager. All the information you need in order to use your powers should have been transferred into your mind by the stat device. I'm looking forward to watching your battle. That's actually pretty cool. Eden then starts to fade in thin air, when only his outline is visible anymore. He says, "Oh, and I'd recommend starting with your magical barrier. Your friends don't seem to be doing very well." Well, no kidding. As Eden vanishes completely, time is slowly starting to resume its course. I take the Stillwater's advice and quickly conjure a protective barrier around Kate and Darren. It's amazing how natural this is feeling. It's as if I've been casting spells my entire life. Is this really the true power of my stat device? Just as I finish casting my spell, time unfreezes itself and the dragon's fire hits my magical barrier. Head on. The flames then disperse into thin air, while Kate looks around her, shocked at the discovery of the newly formed barrier protecting her. Darren, did you? Nope, wasn't me. This barrier is leagues stronger than anything I could ever conjure. I don't know who did this. You! The dragon Tyras shouts high above in the sky, while pointing at me. You did this! It does not matter. All you've managed to achieve is to make yourself my next target. Prepare to die. I conjure another protective barrier around me and Rose, just in time to defend us from the incoming flames. My barrier is holding up much better than Darren's. There's no sign of it breaking anytime soon, and I'm barely even feeling the heat outside of it. The question is, what am I going to do now? Looking at my stat device, I can see the stats have remained exactly the same, and I have no extra available points. So then what did Eden do to it? I'll need to figure this out later. At any rate, judging by the amount of extra energy I can sense in the stat device and the speed at which it's getting consumed, I say that the estimate Eden gave me is spot on. I have less than 5 minutes to finish this fight, but even if with all the magical power, the dragon might well pulverize me into a one-on-one fight if I don't do this right. Both Darren and Kate are too exhausted to assist me, so I'm on my own for the time being. Even as I'm standing here thinking, time is running out, but I can't afford to just start fighting without a plan whatsoever. Improvise. Nah, usually I'm quite the thinker, so make a plan. Going in without a plan would be suicidal. I'll have to wait to use this time efficiently as I can. First of all, I need to think about my defenses. I now have access to a dozen powerful protection spells, but it would take me 3 minutes to cast all of them. Well, that's pretty quick, actually. Even if I use the time freezing spell Eden cast just now, that would only save me for about 2 minutes, and I'll be unable to use the spell for the remainder of the battle. Then again, the time stopping spell isn't really suited for combat, since the spell breaks as soon as I move a few feet or interact with anything who's frozen. So this may well be the best time to use it, or maybe I should try a limit a casting to only what is absolutely necessary. Yeah, that'd probably drain it quicker, I think. Yeah, I think that would. Let's see, the only thing I'll need the most is protection from fire. Yeah. I can't just spend my whole fight trapped inside this barrier, and this spell will grant me some immunity from flames. It'll still feel like I'm in an oven, but at least it won't burn me to a crisp. Aside from that, judging by how I've seen the dragon fight so far, I think I could also use some protection from physical damage to defend me from his claw attacks. It won't be enough to stop him from killing me if he lands a strike, but maybe it'll help me deflect some of his hits. A strong wind he can generate from his wings might also be a problem. It felt like I was trying to fight a hurricane when the dragon first made his appearance, so I guess I could also use some of the spells to give me protection from wind. Other than that, it's anyone's guess. It is said that some of the older dragons can cast magic, but I don't know if Tirath is one of them. More than that, I have no way of knowing what kind of magic he'd be specialized in. I'm going to have to decide which protection spells I can cast in the limited time that I have at my disposal. Cast just protection for spot fire. Yeah. Cast protection for fire, no time for anything else. Cast protection for fire for wind. Freeze time, cast all protection spells on now just to be sure. Well, freeze time really doesn't do nothing because it just delays the inevitable. Yeah, let's do that. Hopefully I don't die. The dragon sees that his fire breath isn't working, so he tries to dive in again. My barrier is too strong to be broken as easily as Darren's, though, so he'll be busy for a while. Now that I've established my defensive strategy, I need to think about the offensive. With the spells I have access to now, I have almost limitless choices, but I'll have to think of a tactic that can defeat Tirith in a few minutes I have left. I'm going to definitely need to cast a flight spell on myself, since it will be too difficult to engage the dragon otherwise. The thing I'm lacking the most here is information about my enemy. I'll have to go on our legends and fairy tales. I'm not sure how much I can rely on any of them in this situation. One thing that most legends agree on is that dragons have a high elemental resistance to fire, and that they are immune to mind-affecting spells and illusions. Other than that, I have no idea which spells would work best. I already know that Kate's ice didn't really hurt the dragon, but maybe water would be a better choice. Water is, after all, the opposing element to fire. Actually, forget water. If I'm to try elemental magic, I might as well try them all, except fire, of course. Darren's sword seems to be at least able to get through the dragon's tough scales, but I do not know what enchantments he has on it. Maybe I could persuade him to give me the sword for the duration of the battle, and then I could fight Tirith head on. The downside of this plan is that I don't seem to have any strength-enhancing spells in my repertoire, so the power of my swing would depend entirely on my strength stat. Oh, no, because I have nothing. Shape-shifting magic is pretty useless in this situation because of two main reasons. First of all, these spells cannot be used to transform something into much bigger than my actual size, so it's not like I can just turn into a dragon and fight Tirith on equal footing. Secondly, you cannot cast spells while shape-shifted, so my mobility would be greatly reduced because I couldn't teleport. It's not just worth it in any way I look at it. Using summoning magic is out of the question as well, since none of these spells were designed to fight an enemy of this caliber, and most of the summoned creatures could do is moderately inconvenience Tirith or provide a distraction. Maybe I'm thinking too small of a scale, though. With the powers I have at my disposal right now, I could be doing a lot more damage. I could literally make a tornado out of thin air, or use earth magic to animate a rock giant that would dwarf the dragon, and who could smash him between his hands. I could also make a blizzard, a lightning storm, a rain of acid, or even some rain of meteorites. The problem with all of these is big spells and almost impossible to prevent collateral damage, so I'd be forced to cast a lot of protections on Darren, Kate, Rose, and even myself beforehand to make sure that we're all safe, and which would take about a minute. Time freezing spell wouldn't save me much in this case, since we're relatively far apart from each other, and moving would cancel the time-stopping effect. Half a minute of my time is already up. I need to decide fast. I actually don't know how much time I have left. Did I already use 2? He's immune to elemental magic, but it'd be most. Ask Darren for a sword. I have no strength, so I'm gonna have to hit the dragon with big spells. I start off by casting a protection for fire, wind, and physical damage on myself, as well as in a flight spell. Next, I cast the necessary protection spells on Rose, and head for Darren and Kate. Barry, what happened? Darren asked me as I reached them. The magical power radiating from you is insane. I'll explain later, don't have much time. I'll need to concentrate as much as possible on casting these protection spells. After I finish casting the spells on the 3 of you, I fly to the barrier and face the dragon. Finally, I can go all out now. There we go. I raise my hands in the air and feel like all my magical power flowing through me. This is what I've always wanted. This is what I've been looking for all my life, and I'm not going to let a single dragon stand in my way. I start by creating a tornado. The wind around me is now so strong it's literally breaking chunks of rocks on the ground and making them fly around me, clashing with the trees that are getting uprooted one by one. It's almost like a scenario from a horror book. The dragon is struggling to keep himself airborne, while my protection spells from wind are allowing me to fly through the currents with ease. Next, I use my earth magic to animate a giant rock made of rock. The ground trembles violently, and an enormous rock golem rises from it slowly, making it seem like it has been simply sleeping all this time. Once it gets up, I can see that the giant measures at an impressive 200 feet. Woo! Once it spots the dragon, it uses huge hands to crush him between them. Tirith lets out a deafening roar, a roar so powerful that it creates an explosion of air all around him, and actually shatters the giant's hands, setting the dragon free. That was so loud that I had to use a spell to avoid losing my consciousness. I can only hope that Darren and others have access to sonic protection as well. Even though he managed to get out, it's clear that Tirith has taken a lot of damage from my last attack. He's now breathing fire hotter than ever before, engulfing my rock giant in flames and turning him into molten lava. Try all you want, little dragon, but you won't escape my grasp. Nothing can stop me now. Ooh, he's getting a little power hungry. Dozens of volcanoes are starting to erupt from the earth below as I use even more magical power, this time to call upon a rain of acid. The dragon screams as the acid burns through its wings, and he starts to desperately shoot fire everywhere above him, in order to burn all the acid before it reaches him. I teleport next to Tirith and point my palms towards him, blowing him away with a powerful explosion of air that stuns him for a few seconds. Since I've interrupted him from the burning drops of acid, the rain is now once more pouring onto him, and the dragon starts to scream in pain again. It's over. He's no match for me. The time I have left will be more than enough to finish him off for good. So you think? I bet it won't be. Suddenly the whole area gets covered in a blue light, and I'm starting to feel an immense magical power come from the air all around us. What? What's happening? Tyr says, trying to hold back the pain. Has it been so long that you've forgotten, old friend? I hear Eden's voice coming from the left. I turn around and see the stillwater floating in the air next to us, with his usual smile on his face. Eden, the dragon says. Just because these traps haven't been activated for more than a millennia doesn't mean they are out of function, Eden continues. The less Athai of old were anything but shoddy craftsmen. This trap was just a bit out of tune, that's all. Luckily, your continuous use of flames and various volcanoes were just enough to warm it up. As the two of them speak, the ground is shaking violently and the blue light is intensifying. You'll pay for this, both of you. I will not rest until I hunt you down. Nowhere on this continent will be safe from you ever again. Do you hear me? I will hunt you down. Wipe that smile off her face, you little lowborn little. All the magic in the air gets unleashed in a single moment, and the dragon gets teleported away. As the blue light disappears and the earthquake slowly stops, the energy from my device is gone. I could sense it disappear the moment the dragon was teleported away. Eden turns back to me. Well done, Barry. You far exceeded my expectations. What just happened? Well, he obviously just got teleported away. I'm more interested in who built it. That should be pretty cool. Who are the Lestathai? The Lestathai are the most ancient race on this continent, although the name is a bit hard to remember, so most people prefer to call them simply the Ancients. Their talent at crafting magical artifacts and devices was unmatched 1,000 years ago, and we still use many of their artifacts to this day. The trap that just got triggered was also made by them some 2,000 years ago. It was supposed to get activated at the first sign of flames, but because it has been at least 1,000 years since it was last used, its mechanism was a little rusty, and that's why it needed to be warmed up a bit. That discharge of energy from the trap must have surely fried your stat device, but don't worry, it'll recover in a few minutes with all your previous stats. What did the trap do to the dragon? It transported him to a dragon prison on this continent. Since I doubt there's anyone actually guarding it at this point, I imagine he won't have much trouble escaping. But even so, he still have to destroy the prison's automatic defenses, and he'll have to travel all the way back here. So it should be at least a few days before he comes back. Well, that's reassuring. Yeah. Eden, shouts Darren, as he comes close to us. What are you doing here? Wait, I don't understand. Isn't he your friend? Rose asks. That's what I thought, but it seems like I was mistaken, Eden says, feigning sadness. He then turns to leave. No, wait, don't go, Rose calls out to him. I'm sure Darren didn't mean what he said. I thank you for your kindness, Rose, but I can tell when I'm not wanted. I bid you farewell. He then starts fading away and teleports out of sight. Or did he? After seeing how well he could mask his presence before, I'm starting to wonder. It's a bit creepy, knowing that he could just be standing there, invisible and untraceable, listening to everything we say. We really need to find some way of detecting these kind of things. Darren, how could you do this to your friend? That was horrible, Rose says. Ask Kate to freeze the whole area and make it. Darren should be ashamed of yourself. They're pretty funny. Yeah, I'm gonna joke with him. Yeah, Darren should be ashamed of yourself. Barry, you're not playing to make it easy. Ooh. Yeah, sorry, it's a little late. You're not planning to make this easy for me, are you? He saved all of our lives, Rose says. I saw it happen before my eyes. We all would have been dead if it was not for him. He's the one that gave Barry all those powers and allowed him to fight the dragon. Why are you acting like he's our enemy? It's because he is our enemy, Kate. Kate tells her bluntly. When we first met him this morning, he tried to kill Darren outright and ultimately decided against it, on a whim. If what you're saying is true, and he really did save all of our lives, then I'm inclined to believe that it was just a decision he made on a whim. And what was the motivation he gave for saving the four of us? Kate's rebuttal made Rose lose a little bit of steam. much. She pauses. He said he couldn't let the dragon win after having gloated like a villain from a children's storybook. Well, there you have it. But never mind Eden's intentions. What I am most interested in is knowing how both of you got to interact with him in the middle of our fight, when neither of me nor Darren saw him appear until the end of the battle. He froze time, I tell her. Froze time? Darren asked, perplexed. How is that even possible? Beats me. He just snapped his fingers and made time stop for everyone except me and him. Wait, what about Rose? Kate asked. He said that I was able to resist his spell because I'm a time weaver, Rose answers her. What is a time weaver? Kate asks. Oh, somebody can weave time. He didn't tell us, but judging by the name, I'd say it's a person that can use time-altering magic, I tell her. Rose, did you start feeling any different after having withstood Eden's spell? Darren asks her. No, I feel exactly the same as before. I think he was mistaken. I can't have time powers. His spell must have just malfunctioned, that's all. Perhaps you're right, Darren says. At any rate, we would be thankful enough that we somehow managed to make it out alive. I've heard stories about how dangerous this place was, but I never imagined it would be as bad as this. We're all in terrible shape. Here, let me start casting some healing spells. Continue. Once Darren finishes healing us all, we waste no more time to resume our journey, in order to avoid meeting any mages or creatures that might have been attracted by the loud noises of our previous battle. I still don't understand one thing, Barry, Kate tells me, as we walk side by side. How did Eden manage to give you all those powers? As far as I know, transferring powers between mages is impossible without some kind of tool to assist them. Oh, he used my stat device. I'm not sure exactly what he did, but he made it start glowing, and then I suddenly got all these powerful spells. All these spells. I've tried playing around with the stat booster ever since in order to see if I could unlock some secret option or something, but I couldn't figure how he did it. Wait, so you're saying you got all those powers through your stat device? No, that's impossible. In order for that to work, you need to have even less magical power than a human. Otherwise, it wouldn't match at all with the magical frequency of your device. She pauses. Actually, come to think of it, your magical aura was always weaker than that of a normal human. Very weak, in fact. It's almost as if you were... Kate suddenly stops in her tracks and looks straight at me. The look in her eyes slowly turns to one of both sheer terror and sudden understanding. Then her look becomes dark. Darker than I've ever seen it before. She continues to look me straight in the eyes. Almost as if I were a what? Never mind. It wasn't important. Let's catch up with the others. We're lagging behind again. The tone in her voice is as cold as her freezing magic. She doesn't say another word to me, and goes to catch up with Darren and Rose. Great. Just what we needed. More underlying conflict in our group. I'm sure this can only end well for everyone. I'm sure it will. Well, that was a pretty long chapter. We got to fight a dragon. Got to meet our big buddy Eden, and found out that I am not a human, I guess. I don't really know what I am, but anyway, it's pretty cool. That was they all should make a movie about this. That'd be really fun. Now, if they actually did the movie, it didn't make it stupid. But no, that's pretty good. I really like this chapter. Had the most action in it so far. But yeah. Well, anyway, that was chapter 6, I think. Yeah, that was chapter 6. So, I'm gonna end that here. It's actually pretty late here. It's about 12:30 at night, and I will pick it up on chapter 7. I want to thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye.